Hi, I'm Symone Male. I'm a Brisbane artist and I'm the winner of the Emerging Artist Prize for the Ravenswood Women's Art Prize. So my winning piece for the Emerging Art Prize for Ravenswood Art Prize was called Contagious, and the name has a double meaning. So a lot of people think because I'm wearing the mask that it's obviously about COVID, but what it meant to me was random acts of kindness and people coming together. All those positive things that came out of COVID were contagious. People started putting their little animals in the windows and people started doing really nice things. So that's what contagious means to me, and that's why I called my painting Contagious. I'm inspired by everything that I own, really. I'm a collector and I love everything retro, love op shopping and anything old. I also really love kids things. So I've got lots of toys in my life, fluffy toys and plastic toys, and particularly if it's old or bright or colourful, I just really love that. So I draw a lot of inspiration for my artwork from what I live with. So I've got some of my treasures here. My house is just full of treasures, and this is something that I really love. So I've had this for, I don't know, definitely over 20 years, maybe 30 years. And my nephews and nieces, who are all grown up now, used to play with this all the time. Other friends' kids have played with it. Kids that come into this house love this, and I just thought, I have to paint it. It's just brought so much joy to my life and to all the kids' lives. And so yeah, I painted that, and I was pretty happy with the outcome, and it was bought by a friend and now hangs in Melbourne. This is my painting of King Bunny from Bunny Racket. I painted him for the Archibald last year. Didn't get selected, but that's okay. I just love entering, and he creates amazing kids rock and roll music, and he is hanging above my record player. And this house is always filled with music. So music is a big influence for me and very inspiring, and I've painted a lot of Brisbane musicians. I've painted Saya Vogel. She was in Regurgitator and she does a lot of her own music. She's also an incredible sculptor. She makes soft sculptures of synthesizers. I've also painted Ben and Jeff Corbett from 6 Foot Hick, Nick Norton, he's a Brisbane DJ, Eddie from Butterfingers. I love painting musicians and anyone in the arts, really. Great couch with lots of strawberries and lots of toys, because I love everything colourful and kidsy. This is the rat that was in my painting that I entered to the Ravenswood Art Prize. It was Year of the Rat, so I bought him, and I'm a rat, so I loved him. He had to go in the painting to signify what year it was, and what a year it was. Up here are some more of my kids' toys. I really love the design of toys, particularly old toys. I love the use of colour and just how fun they are, and because I love kids, I just love having things that kids love around me, because I think I'm just a bit of a big kid myself, really. So this dude was in the painting, and he was symbolic of all my nieces and nephews. This dude was in, and that was me, and this dude here, he was in, and that was my partner. So yeah, some of my toys. This is my kitchen, and it's full of all my treasures. I've got a lot of beautiful crockery and vintage retro plates and cups and vases, and I just love it. I find it all so inspiring. I do plan to do some still lifes from some of the things that I own. I've pulled out a few paintings from my storage room. I've got a massive storage of paintings back there. So when I started painting after I left uni, I did a lot of portraits of women. I was very much wanting to explore the female form and portraiture in particular of all ages, so I painted a lot of friends. So over here is Ilona. She's a musician and an artist herself, and that's the style I was painting in, a very, very dark chiaroscuro lighting. I did a lot of paintings that year in that style, but since then I've moved on to brighter, colourful works. So this is Nicholas Norton. He is also known as Nordo by most people. So he's a drummer and he's also a DJ in Brisbane, and these things down the side relate to him in the 2 degrees of separation of Brisbane, records that he would play, artists that he admires. Myth Warhurst, love her, painted her for the Archibald the year before, the year before last, and just love her and her enthusiasm for music, so I had to paint her. And then over here we have Ben and Jeff Corbett, brothers, just showing their love for each other, and they are amazing, the amazing musicians of 6 Foot Hick. So this is the incredible Saya Vogel. She's a musician and she's also an artist, and she creates these beautiful soft sculptures. And here is Luke Henry from Violent Soho, just another amazing Brisbane musician that I've painted. Just being him, he's just fantastic. This is one of the props that I used for painting the portrait that got into the Ravenswood Art Prize, and Eddie from Butterfingers made this beautiful label for me so that I could have good reference to paint from. Clay sculptures that my mum's made, the fairy houses. So I'm painting a still life at the moment. This is glassware that I have in my home, and I just chose some beautiful pieces that I like the shapes of, the colours of, and in this painting, these bottles all represent different people in my life. So this is my mum and my family. This is my partner. This is my grandma and family that has been in the past, and this is all my friends. So what I did first was choose the pieces. I set up the still life in a nicely lit area, which was just by the front door with some light coming through. Took photos on my phone, around about 40 different photos on my phone, and then printed the photos. I've traced it up. That's why it's so sort of neat and accurate. And then the first thing that I do is paint the whole painting in burnt umber. So the reason I choose burnt umber is it's an opaque paint. So if you're painting in layers and if you're using glazes, you always use an opaque paint to start with to get all your tones in and to get your drawing in. Once the underpainting was done in burnt umber, then I've gone over and you can see these sort of purpley colours. So to make that glaze, I used alizarin crimson and an ultramarine. So both of those paints are transparent paints. So this is putting in all the shadows into the painting, and that's going to give it depth. So you always use transparent paint over the top of your opaque paint once you start going into the glazes. If you were to use an opaque paint over the top, you would block out what was underneath. So that's what's happening there. The next thing that I think I'm going to do is try to put the actual colours over. So I've got lots of reference photos here, all bright and colourful, so that I can see what's going on in there. And I'll use those and I'll just try to match the colours, and you'll be able to see as I put it on, because it'll be a transparent glaze, you should still see all this fine detail coming through from underneath, and hopefully it will look good. Brushes. So I use mostly hog's bristle brushes. I don't know what brand this is, Winton, but yeah, it's a stiff bristle. Shape of it has got a curve. Because I'm painting something that's a bit curved, I'm starting with that. I might move on to a smaller brush. This is a fine liner brush. It's not a hog's bristle. And yeah, I do get right into some fine details with that, but mostly it is the hog's bristles. Everyone has their way, but a lot of people teach that you do your background in first, and then you come back and paint anything that's going to be on the foreground. I find I do a lot of things in reverse. So yeah, I usually paint all my foreground in first, and then I come back around and paint all my backgrounds in. So I'm a firm believer in there's no wrong or right way to do it. There's just different ways. After this is dried, I can then come back and add just little touches and other layers. And because it's nice and thin as a glaze, the light will reflect between those layers. And that's what sort of makes it end up looking sort of, gives it a glow, I guess. Just putting some highlights back in, trying to take the red out. You can do that by just not painting that area, but there is something nice about putting the paint on and taking it off again. It creates a little bit of a bleed or something that that is quite nice. And then later you can go back in and put white in if you want to as well. Most mistakes are good mistakes. there have been paintings that I have made huge mistakes on, and then what happens is you have to fix that mistake somehow, and then that means adding layers and looking at it from different angles and changing things, and that gives paintings depth, in my opinion. You know, some paintings just paint themselves and there's no real mistakes, and that's great as well. But there have been times, and actually here's a really good tip. So if you think something is really wrong with your painting and you can't put your finger on it, but you might say, it's too warm, or it's too cold, there's too much green, or just the colours don't look right and I don't know what it is, or even with shapes, composition, just about anything. And if you keep trying to fix it and it's just getting worse and it's not resolving, what I do is go the complete opposite of what your instinct is. So if you're thinking, I think it needs more green, I think it needs more green, and it's not working, go, okay, what's the opposite of green? Red, let's just put red in. And sometimes that will actually just fix it, and then other times it gives you a point of reference to start working from, instead of trying the same thing that's not working. Just go complete opposite of what you think is right, and that, yeah, sometimes that is what will help you break through to fix a piece of artwork. Maybe if you are starting painting for the first time, I would probably say go in for acrylics, just because they're less messy. Have fun, just have fun with it. Don't get caught up in you know, being scared of a blank canvas. Just get in, just get into it. This is my painting hat. I've always had a painting hat. My first painting hat I got when I was about 16 years old. And yeah, I was pretty much exactly like this, and I wore it and wore it and wore it every time I painted, and a lot of other times as well. And eventually it just fell apart. I've still got it. It's a complete mess. It's just hanging by threads. So I got a friend to make this one for me. And when I put it on to come into the studio, it definitely makes me feel like my head is contained. Like I'm in the zone. I don't know, there is something about, it's good to have your hair out of your face, out of your eyes, so you can see what you're doing, and you don't have to be fussing around with things and getting paint and terps and chemicals in your hair. So you're there and you're connected to what you're doing without other distractions. And there's something weird about having a hat on, the pressure around your head, just that soft feeling. It's almost like it's comforting, and it's probably like, you know, the smell of the paint puts me into the zone. It's all tied into it through memories of having done it for so long, and putting the hat on is the same. It's the feeling of, yeah, I'm in this world now and I'm doing this thing